Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Art Subcheck, and today I'm giving you tons of tips and techniques and word for word verbiage that you're going to be able to use on your very next call to get through, get in, set more appointments, sell more, minimize resistance, and make more money. So, is that what you're here for? Well, if so, let's put you to work here. Type heck yes or yeah or booyah in the question box over there. That's my form of group participation to start us off. Let's see. Fantastic. Yes, yes, yeah, booyah, hell yeah. Great. All right. So we call this the best of my inner circle training. So my inner circle is a group of elite sales pros who understand that to be the very best at what they do, they need to engage in regular self development. And I mean, really, other than professional athletes, there probably is no other profession where high level success relies on continuing to work on ourselves, our skills, and our attitude. And that isn't just attending an occasional company training or reading a book once a year or going on a sales blog. I call that the inoculation method of training, kind of like a flu shot. Yep, had training, read my book for the year. So in my inner circle program, what you're going to be getting today is a piece of that. What we do is we deliver a regular live monthly training webinar for our members. And today, you're going to be getting some of the best tips that I've covered over the past few months. Well, actually, all of the tips are great. So I had a hard time picking out a few, but I did. And you're going to get a sample of those here today that I'll be delivering from the webinars that I did, because every other month, I also have celebrity guest presenters. I've got the honor and privilege of knowing most of the big names in the sales business. And what I do is I call in favors. So I ask them to share some of their very best stuff with our members in a session every other month. And boy, do they deliver. So you're going to hear from just a few of them today, sharing just a few of the tips that they covered in their entire sessions. And then at the end, after I have completely fulfilled my promise to you of delivering awesome how-to material, I've got a limited time opportunity for you to become part of the elite group of sales pros in the inner circle. And I'll be making you a ridiculous special offer at the end. Okay. So that's going to be after I go through all the material. And by the way, if you have any questions, go ahead and type those in. And some of those will get answered by staff during the program. And then I'll try to get to some others at the end. So I'm going to be moving quickly here. And I encourage you, pay close attention, have a pen in hand, since you're going to want to write down the word for word tips that I share with you, as well as our guest presenters. And if you miss them, I'll provide a link to the limited time replay of the program, so you'll be able to start and stop the video when you get that, and take notes or write down the different tips that you want to use. And also, people do screenshots as well. And let's see, I'm not going to be sending out the slides, but you'll be able to see everything you need in the replay, or if you do a screenshot. All right. Okay, so let's get going here. First point, when you're asking for the decision maker, or really anyone for that matter, consider making your request first, then stating your name and your company. So, for example, hi, I'd like to speak with Pat Stevens, please. My name is Gene Payne with Internal Recruiters. And a couple reasons for this. Number one, it answers in advance the common question from assistants, which is, and may I tell her or him who's calling? And then number two, by giving your name after stating your request, they're more likely to remember it. So Conversely, if you had started out the call with, yeah, hi, this is Gene Payne with Internal Recruiters calling for Pat Stevens, what's happening is their mind is focused on trying to pick up the name of the person that you're asking for. And in many cases, they don't even retain your name since they're listening for the familiar name within their organization. And really think about how many times you've had somebody say, then after that, and who'd you say you are? Or your name again? Or who'd you say you're with? So again, this way you prevent that. So you preempt it from happening. All right, next. So if you think about this, you've probably had situations where maybe you had a sale in the bag, but then you had it blown out of the water by someone who you didn't even know existed. I mean, no doubt, pinpointing the decision-making hierarchy in advance can save you time and headaches. So here are some useful ideas for doing that. Let me quote Tony Alessandra, speaker and trainer. He says that if you just bluntly ask someone, are you the person who can authorize the purchase? It's normally ineffective, but it's also insulting, especially if the person is not the ultimate decision maker. And I've talked quite a bit about that over the years, where we just don't want to come out and say, are you a decision maker? Because most people are going to say, yeah, I make decisions. So instead, ask things like, can you walk me through the decision-making process? Here's another one. What are the steps and the phases each purchase must go through there in your organization? Can you tell me how these decisions are made at your company? I like this one. How many copies of the proposal will you need? Kind of tricky there, huh? Yeah, not tricky, but stealthy. Okay, let's talk about playing phone tag. So often we hear that phrase, don't we? Well, I'm playing phone tag with them. It's unproductive, right? It's frustrating. So instead, we can be productive with voicemail and the opportunities that we have there to communicate. So, number one, on your own voicemail greeting, state so that you can be better prepared when you call back that the caller should leave their specific question or reason for calling. For example, and so that I can get started on your question or request, please leave a detailed explanation of your reason for calling. And number two, do the same thing when you reach voicemail, especially if you're returning their call. And if you should reach my voicemail when you call back, please do leave the specifics of your request so I can begin working on the answers for you. And also give me an idea of the dates that you're looking to reserve and the program that you have interest in. Oh, and by the way, always be sure to preface what you want them to do with what they're going to gain by calling you back. All right, here is a technique that I suggest that you avoid, or actually it's just a phrase at the beginning of the call. And that's, don't apologize for taking someone's time at the beginning of the call. It diminishes your importance. For example, consider the caller who says, yeah, I know you're busy and I'm sorry for interrupting, and I'll just take a few seconds and here's why I'm calling. Stop. Think about what you're really offering. You have something of value that will help make this person's life better, right? So you need to present that feeling with conviction. Hey, if you're not sold on your importance, they certainly won't be. All right, now I'm going to cover something with you that I have covered quite a bit. I believe I may have covered it in one of our live sessions before, but I would say I get a question about once a day or every other day from somebody that says, what's a good way to open up a prospecting call? Well, this really is my whole smart calling prospecting process. And I've got this template that I use, and I'm just going to give you the template here. Of course, there's a lot of work that goes into this with the preparation and the research and all that, but I'm just going to give you the template, and you could use this as is to plug into it. So let me just go through it with you, then I'll give you an example. of the whole thing. And this really can help you brainstorm some of your possible value propositions. So right at the beginning, we start out with, after introducing yourself and company, and of course, you'd want to mention some smart calling intelligence that you have about them to make that connection. And then we go into the possible value. And we say, we specialize in working with, and then you fill in there with the type of the title of the buyer, VP of operations, human resource directors, type of company. You could say manufacturing companies in the sporting goods industry, whatever group or organization, who or that, and now we're describing a situation or a problem that you help them solve. Okay, and then you say, and we help them too, then you fill in with how you solve that problem or the results that you actually provide. And then the which means statement here, this forces you to describe what that end result is. And then ideally, if you can mention some specific client results, all the better. So here's what that would look like there. This is one of mine at the bottom. We specialize in working with sales teams that have new business quotas, helping them to use a proven prospecting process, which means they're able to confidently get through to and sell to new buyers. Our most recent clients already opened up 10 new accounts in a week, more than they did the past 3 months. So there you have it. And I just basically filled in the blanks there with that template, and you can do the same thing. So there you have it. There's your prospecting opening statement process. All right, let's talk about a negative technique. The negative sell or the takeaway and versions of it have been around forever. Early on, I was kind of against them since they do bring up the negative. And I thought they were a bit cheesy, and they can be depending on the context. Now, as I'm studying and selling into different markets with our new venture, and I've actually heard this technique used in different ways, I do believe that it has merit in certain situations. Now, the theory lies in the fact that people want what they can't have. And if something is scarce, they want it all the more. If you tell somebody they can't have something, now, of course, the natural tendency is, well, why not? And if you tell someone they might not be a fit for what you have, with some people, there's that switch that's flipped in their mind that says, oh, yeah, why not? So here's examples of these, and you can use them at different points in a call. For example, this first one here. Now, this really may not be right for you. And this could be, for example, in an opening statement. And for example, you could say, and what we do is we specialize in working with, helping them too. Now, this really might not be right for you, but what it's done for other companies is. And I'd like to ask you a few questions, okay? Likewise, with the next point there, this isn't for everyone. However, if you're experiencing this kind of situation, we might have a couple options for you that, okay? This one would probably be more appropriate later in a call, where if somebody's kind of on the fence, you might want to try the takeaway approach and say, well, I'm not sure either that you're in the right place for this right now, for what I'm offering. And that might just cause them to rethink it and say, well, maybe I am. Okay. So again, we can plug this into an opening to help them lessen their defenses, or perhaps at the close where they might be thinking of reasons as a result of this that they do want to do it. Now, I had a question here from Jay, and he said, how does this work with the weasel words that I suggest? Well, Jay, this actually is a variation of the weasel words. For those of you not familiar, weasel words are words at the beginning of a call that are not typically strong sales language. Strong sales language would be, I know we can make you money. I know we can save you money. You will cut down your response time. Those things are definitive, declarative statements. We don't want to make those statements at the beginning of a call. We want to use weasel words like might, maybe, perhaps, possibly, depending on what you're doing now. Because if we come across too strong at the beginning, somebody might say, "Oh yeah, well you don't even know me. How can you say that?" And that's not the position we want to be in at the beginning of a call. All right. So notice when I was talking about the opening statement, the way I end the opening statement normally is, and I'd like to ask you a few questions. You see, we need obviously to ask questions in order to make the best sales recommendation, no doubt about that. So if I look back at virtually every opening statement tip I've made over the years, I've included a phrase similar to, I'd like to ask you a few questions to see if what we have might be of some value to you. And I do still suggest it. Recently, I've heard another option that sounds like it's a fresh alternative. Kim Horna, who was a student of ours, went through our smart calling program, came up with another one that she likes, and I do too. It's this. And I'd like to exchange some information with you. So here's an example here. So on a smart call, after introducing herself, she says something like, and depending on your current method of data backup, I've got some ideas that have worked well for other IT directors that resulted in improved efficiency of their computer operations. And if I've reached at a convenient time, I'd like to exchange some information about the systems that you now support. So she's showing success with that and feels that it's smooth and it's non-salesy and it just flows right into the sales dialogue. Okay, so what I do in the Inner Circle every other month is that, as I mentioned, I have a guest presenter, and I'm fortunate to be friends with some of the top sales trainers in the world. And well, we do favors for each other. We promote each other's books and programs, and we also agree to help each other by appearing on and presenting on each other's programs and Inner Circle groups. And over the past few months, I've had an all-star lineup with some amazing presentations from my guests, and of course, those are all in our archives here in the Inner Circle, or they're in the Inner Circle, which you'll be able to get access to. So right now, I'm going to play you just a segment or a tip from several of them. Again, these are just recordings that I pulled from their full presentations. First, we have Sam Richter, author of the best-selling book, Take the Cold Out of Cold Calling. Now, the book is not about cold calling techniques. It's all about how to find smart calling intelligence so you can make your calls relevant. Now, I've known Sam for years. He's an absolute wizard when it comes to knowing how to use the internet to get sales intelligence. So here is just a short tip from his hour-long program with us where he shared some real jaw-dropping techniques.
So how many of you like to go to the doc? I'm getting to that age where I don't particularly like to go to the doc because they're not just looking down my throat anymore. They're looking up other areas. But that's not the kind of doc I'm talking about. I'm talking about documents. What I'm going to show you is, I like to say, kind of the CIA spy method of finding stuff online. Have you ever downloaded a document from the internet? Of course you have. Maybe you run a Google search and you click on a link and it's not a web page, it's a PDF file. Or maybe somebody emails you a link to a Dropbox or an Amazon Cloud. Click here to download the document. There are billions, there are probably trillions of documents floating out there on the internet. Oftentimes they're secure. Sometimes they're not, if you know how to find it. You find documents by using what's called a file type colon search. Where I have YYY, you replace that with the kind of document you might be interested in. So I do file type colon XLS or XLSX for Excel spreadsheets. What kind of Excel spreadsheets might be out there? I don't know, budgets, attendee lists, member lists. PowerPoint documents could be our competitor's proposal at a conference, Word documents, articles, PDF files, articles, reports, all sorts of things. Let me give you a couple of examples. Again, we talked earlier about associations. There's an association for everything. And many of these associations will have a member directory or a membership directory. And many of those directories are posted online as PDF files. Google, go find me a PDF file. Now, what you might not know is when Google finds a PDF file, it not only vacuums up the title of the document, whether it's PDF, Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint, it not only vacuums up the title of the document, it actually opens up the document itself and vacuums up every single word inside the document. So the document itself becomes searchable. And so again, you heard me say this earlier, think like the author. If I was writing a membership directory, let's say my target audience are building contractors or professional builders, what words might go into that directory? Google, go find me a PDF file. Inside the PDF file is the phrase, as I'm putting it in quotes, Builders Association, the phrase membership directory. Now I also might do or in all uppercase, or member directory, put that in quotes, and I get 1,480 results. I click on any one of them, and it's the exact type of prospecting list that I care about. Here's one, a Builders Association master member list from the Snohomish County up there in Seattle, Washington, 173 pages of contacts, the exact type of people that I care about. Other ways I can do this. Google, go find me an Excel spreadsheet. Inside the Excel spreadsheet is the word hospital, the word manager, the word purchasing, or the word procurement. So the reason I have these, by the way, is every time I give a presentation, I customize it for the audience. So I was working with a group of, it was an association conference, and I asked them beforehand, I said, who's your target audience? Who do you sell to? And they said, well, we usually sell to purchasing managers or procurement managers at hospitals. And I said, well, let me see if I can find them. Now, sometimes you do get lucky, sometimes you don't. This time I got really lucky. So again, Google, go find me an Excel spreadsheet. Inside the spreadsheet must be the word hospital, the word manager, the word purchasing, or the word procurement. 11,300 results appeared. I clicked on, I think it was the second one, and it was a list of every single purchasing manager and procurement manager in the entire United States. The entire United States in the healthcare industry, full contact information, including email address and phone numbers. It's crazy what you can find when you know where and how to look. Again, I was doing another presentation and they said, you know, we like to target executives at General Mills. That's our target audience. Great, Google, go find me an Excel spreadsheet. Now notice how I'm combining all the things I've been teaching you. Google, go find me an Excel spreadsheet. Inside the Excel spreadsheet is the phrase General Mills, the phrase vice president, or the word director, but don't search the entire internet. You must limit your search to Excel spreadsheets where in the web address is the word list. Again, we're focusing, we're narrowing down, we're getting fewer results. So before we were getting 11,000, now I want to get 20. I mean, the holy grail for me is 1. My goal is fewer results. But look at the types of things. Notice that in the web address of every one of these is the word list. I can click on one, and this one happened to pull up not only the exact person that my client wanted at General Mills, but pretty much when she looked at the list, she said, oh my goodness, there are all the other people I'd like to speak to as well. So again, I have the luxury of using PowerPoint here. It's not always this easy, and sometimes you're going to get a bunch of junk, sometimes you're going to get nothing. The key is try different things. Think like the author. What might show up? Here's another one. I was working with a company that needed to find out other companies, government entities, educational institutions, military organizations that are putting out RFPs. Again, think like the author. Google, go find me a PDF file, because oftentimes RFPs, RFQs, requests for quotes, requests for proposals, those requests are posted online as PDF files. Google, go find me a PDF file. Inside the PDF file is the word RFP or the word RFQ. This company was specifically interested in adhesives. And obviously I don't want RFPs from 2012. So I said on the RFP must be the word 2017 or 2018. 16,200 results appear, the exact types of results that we care about. Now, you might say, well, there's a whole bunch of them, Sam, 16,200. What do? I go click on that tools button. I can even go in and sort my results. Remember, we did this earlier, and only show me RFPs that have been produced in the last month. So these kinds of searches can really help us hone in and find the opportunities that we care about.
Wow. Are you already thinking about how you would use that? So again, his entire presentation is up in our member area archives, and I'll tell you how you can get instant access to that later in the program. Next, a few months ago, our guest presenters were Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton, authors of the best-selling book, Go for No. Let's face it, no's are a big part of our life. And in this presentation, Richard and Andrea really work on mindset and how by actually going for more no's, we are going to be exponentially more successful. So here's a brief section from their program with us.
Now, finally, the last couple interesting concepts we wanted to cover with all of you, something we call the 5 failure levels. This is in our book, Go for No, which is a short, very short book. You can read it on an airplane ride. But this is kind of a great overview of Go for No and something that we thought you all would find valuable. So we're going to start here with covering the 5 failure levels as we wrap up. So the first level, level 1, is the ability to fail. It's where 100% of the people on planet Earth start. They all have the ability to fail. It's where we start. But the problem is that most people have been taught and trained not to fail. They don't want to fail, even though they definitely have the ability. Now, interesting level. Level 2, the willingness to fail. Level 2 people develop the willingness to fail, but they still don't enjoy it very much. Now, this is probably where, hopefully, we've taken a lot of you who are listening and watching this, where you say, all right, I'm willing to hear the word no now.
Yeah, but being willing and doing it begrudgingly is not where the magic happens. The magic happens at level 3. Level 3 is the wantingness to fail. And what do we mean by the wantingness to fail? It means that at the end of the day, if you were getting ready to go to bed and you reviewed your performance for the day and no one had said no to you, you hadn't heard a single no, you would be disappointed because you know you left something on the table. Now, getting to this level, to level 3, can be a challenge, and I will admit it was for me personally. And in reality, probably fewer than 5% of people ever get to the level of the wantingness to fail for any sustained period. But when you do get to level 3, it can make all the difference in the world of your performance.
Absolutely. My favorite level, level 4, failing bigger and faster. The people who get to level 4 have come to the conclusion that if failing is good, then failing faster is better. And what do we mean by this? Well, by failing fast, we mean going out and getting not just one no here and one no there, but a lot. If you'd like to see massive results, if you want to, take massive action, go for no as fast as you can. And not just failing faster, but also failing bigger. After all, we like to say a no is a no is a no, no matter who it's coming from.
Right, yeah, another Zig Ziglar saying, easy yeses produce little successes.
That's right. So what do we mean by a big no? Sometimes when we live in a go for yes world, we make assumptions about who will say yes to us. Right? We assume. And the big no really is anyone who would be a great customer to land, right? Maybe you've come up with reasons why they are just simply going to tell you no. So, which salespeople are so magically fantastic at doing. So in thinking about going for a big no, the real question, the only question should be, is this a good prospect who could benefit from your products and services? If you believe that they are, you believe in, and you're sold on the features and benefits that you have to share, then you need to put your own fear and apprehension aside and get on with telling them about how what you have to offer now can help them. And that means sharing all of what you have to offer. Never assume that people out there have an understanding of what all the products and services are that you have. A key tenet, like the underlying, the absolute biggest mistake you can make from a go for no standpoint is to make an assumption and assume that someone's just going to tell you no. Let your prospects tell you no. Don't say no for them.
Right. And finally, a level 5 of the 5 failure levels is failing exponentially through others. This final level really is a function of team leadership. It's what great leaders do in any organization. And it is that this is the level where the leader wants to enlist others to fail with them. It's a simple assumption here. If driving personal failure rate can increase personal success, your success, then driving team failure rate can increase organizational success.
All right. Thank you, Richard and Andrea. Their presentation just blew away our members. And again, you can get access to the entire thing right away in the members area archive, which I'll tell you about here in just a little bit. So next we have Steve Richard. Steve's a dynamic sales trainer and coach and president of ExecVision. Steve shared lots of prospecting tips with us. I mean, some real ninja stuff. So here's just a few.
So first, when you call switchboard, and this is kind of a counterintuitive thing, you do not introduce yourself. We tested this. When we introduced ourselves, we got a lot of, yeah, if you're interested in doing business with our company, then we're going to send you to the vendor helpline or the vendor voicemail. And if someone's interested, they're going to return a call. Yeah, right. Not going to happen. So instead, what you do is you call and say, I'm calling to verify the spelling of a name. And even if the person's name is like Josh Smith, it doesn't matter what the name is, you do this. Hi, Art, calling to verify the spelling of a name. Or you can lead by saying, hoping you can help me out real quick question for you, something like that, some kind of a transition that's real light. But again, you're not introducing yourself. That's the key. And this is what it sounds like. So it'll say, I need to verify the spelling of a name for Jim Walters. And then, okay, I've got his email address. Is that right? And then you say, what's the extension number? How do you dial that directly? Another subtle thing. If you say, what's a direct line? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't give that out. Okay, what's his extension number? How do you dial that directly? It's so counterintuitive. It seems like,
that.
Yeah, like wow.
Love that language.
Yeah. And then the reporting language is really important. Who does this person report up to? And then who are their direct reports? Who reports up to them? Who are their direct reports? Those are the people below them. And who do they report up to? Or alternatively, who has their job in a different unit or a different line of business? And this is the language of like business reporting structures that you just have to get comfortable with, because once you do, you will learn all kinds of crazy stuff. And I've had examples of clients that say, yep, we're going to give you a list of contacts, and all the contacts are 100% correct. They've all been verified. They've all been validated. They're great. And when you start doing this work that I'm putting up on the screen, they're like, 2/3 of the time, they're not the same person anymore. Because people are constantly turning over. You'll have someone who leaves a company, they get fired, they quit, whatever, and then someone else takes their job later on, or someone's filling in for them temporarily, whatever. Now, the key to the whole thing is to sound casual and confident as if you're supposed to have the information. The minute you start sounding salesy, like a salesperson, old Gil on The Simpsons or one of those things, the minute you start sounding like that, they will smell it, they hear it, and they shut you down. So you got to be very, very confident.
Or if you sound timid.
They're going to absolutely sense it, and they're going to say, you can almost feel it, Art. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Now, how we're talking to the executive assistants, and then we'll play some examples. I wanted to just cover this and then go over there, is you do identify yourself. Hi, Mary, it's Steve from ExecVision. You can even say, how you doing? Very well, great. Can you help me out real quick? I have a quick question for you. Now, this is what's interesting. If you try to get transferred to the executive, who else tries to get transferred to the executive? Every other vendor that's calling them all day long, every other salesperson. So what they're used to hearing is, oh, hi, Mary. Hi, Mary. This is Steve Richard from ExecVision. Is Art in? Oh, no, Art's not in today? Okay, great. He's in the meeting? Okay, can I leave a note for Art? When will Art be back? They get a lot of that all day long. And then they say, like, okay, if we're interested, we'll give you a call. We'll keep your information on file. They get a lot of that. In this case, we are not playing that game. We're not doing that at all. Instead, we're just saying, hey, Mary, hoping you can help me out real quick. Who are Art's direct reports who are in charge of X, Y, and Z? And in many cases, they just pull out the org chart and they tell you, oh, here are all the people and here's what they're in charge of. And they'll even say, Art, like, oh, I'm not really supposed to give out this information, but in this case, it seems like it's okay. This is very much social engineering. Actually, hackers do this, when they're trying to get people's passwords. Now, obviously, we're doing it white hat. We're doing it for the forces of good here, not the forces of evil. But the whole thing is, if you just sound like you're supposed to be there, if you introduce yourself calmly, coolly, and if you don't ask them for stuff, they give you things. Okay? So I'm hoping you can help me out. I understand your prospect oversees this. Is that correct? Who on her team oversees this responsibility, that responsibility? What's their extension number? How do you dial that directly? All that kind of thing. All right? And you can do something similar with all these other support functions. Every company has lots of different areas where they intake information, and then they have areas where they block information. So I almost think about a company as being like a castle. And if you walk up to the castle and you're trying to bust through the front door, that's where they've fortified themselves the strongest. That's the place where they're least likely to be penetrated. And that's what you're going to encounter in many cases at a switchboard. A lot of times switchboards won't help you. Guess what? Go to a different switchboard location. Go to Canada. Go to Ireland. Friendliest, most helpful people in the world. And that's kind of like going in the back door of the castle through the around the moat or something up in the garbage chute. And boom, you're in there. The IT help desk, again, they are structured to help you. It's in their definition. Sales lines, again, structured to take information in, structured to give you information. And one of my favorites is accounts receivable. This came about in 2008. Nobody was paying their bill. Everyone was terrified because of the economic meltdown. So we were calling accounts payable. They didn't answer the phone. Guess who answers the phone? Accounts receivable. They sit right next to accounts payable. So we got, hey, do you sit next to accounts payable? Yes. Can you put me on the phone with them? Sure. Len's right here. Here, you want to talk to Len? Yeah, actually, I would. Trying to get my bill paid here so I can stay in business and not go out of business like everybody else. So there's some specific language that you use with these different support functions. If you're dealing with a random employee, oh, yeah, I was transferred incorrectly. I'm not sure how I got to you. What's the extension number? You can just put someone else's name in the directory. Don't be dishonest. Don't lie, right? If I put in Smith and there's a Joe Smith and a Susan Smith and I get the Susan Smith instead of Joe Smith, I got you an error. I'm not sure how. What's the extension number of the right person? The IT help desk. Hey, no need for a ticket. Nothing's broken. This should be a quick fix. I'm just trying to get a phone number for this person. An extension number. The one I have isn't working. You can do the same thing for the mailroom. So there are lots and lots of different places you can go. Also,
great stuff, Steve. Thanks. And again, Steve's entire presentation is up there in the members area, along with many other guest presenters who we don't have time for today, and about 12 of my own presentations. Next, we have my longtime friend and colleague, Jim Demansky. Jim has been in the inside sales business just about as long as I have. And he's based in Canada. And for my money, he has some of the best how-to information out there. Jim's got this very entertaining style of presenting, uses dry, low-key humor, as you're about to hear. So here's Jim Demansky presenting one of the best opening statements known to man.
Okay, so let's get into openers. Opening statements is probably, well, it's not probably, it's the number one question I'm asked about. And everyone says, hey, Jimbo, what's a good opener? Well, any of our stuff is a good opener, and this is just a variation on the theme, but I stole this from a guy by the name of Rocky Mancini. Rocky was a rep that worked for Molson Breweries, brewery up here in Canada, one of the big ones, who looked remarkably like the guy over there on the right from The Godfather, Fat Clemenza. He looked almost identical to him, only a younger version. But this is the number one opener I've ever tested, and I originally disliked it. What you'll see in a moment is that it's got a humble kind of approach to it, that coming on a little less strong is actually more strong. And it's different from the typical stuff that we're often given. Why? Because it implies that you're going to take away the rest of the pitch and reduce the risk of the person having to listen to you. You'll see it here in a second. And there's an article there if you ever want to go to and read further. So let's see what Fat Clemenza might say. So here's an example. These are all real examples, by the way, from a financial corporation. Anthony, this is Pat McCormick calling from XYZ Investments. We specialize in helping small business owners develop a retirement strategy. Anthony, at this point in time, I'm not certain if I can help minimize your tax exposure and maximize your investments. So there's that in green. The humble phrase is, I'm not certain, or I'm not sure, or I don't really know. Some people don't like this because they say, dang it, you don't sound confident, doesn't look like you've prepared. Doesn't really matter what you think, it's what the client thinks. Again, when I surveyed the clients, and I've probably done this survey 3-4 times over the last, I don't know, 15 years, to a person, they all say, I like the fact that the client recognized that my business is different. Now you kind of think, well, where does that come from? My business is different. And then when you start putting it together, it's implied. They're saying, listen, I'm not an expert. I don't know about your business. Yeah, I may have done some research, social engineering, but I'm not certain if this would fit. It depends on your needs. So that's where it works on the psyche. It makes you more believable. To continue, you see that little trigger phrase, if I've caught you at a good time, I'd like to ask you a few questions, get a feel for your situation, and see if it makes sense to chat further. Let me ask you. When you hear that phrase, to see if it makes sense to chat further, it implies that if there is no reason to talk further, you won't. You won't force them to hear the pitch. And that seems to convey a sense of goodwill in the client. To carry the Mancini humble approach a little bit further, here's an example where it's a follow-up call where you may have sent an email or you may have sent a parcel, proposal, whatever. Hey, Carrie, it's Aaron Mancuso calling from ABC Distributing. Carrie, the reason for my call is to follow up on an email that I sent you yesterday introducing our new account management program designed to streamline your ordering and processing and reduce your shipping costs. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it in any detail, but if I've caught you at a good time, I'd like to ask you a few questions, etc. So again, I don't know if you've had a chance to review it. What you're really saying is, I don't know and I don't care, because now that I've got you live, I want to ask you some questions. So we don't let that be a deal breaker. So it's a clever turn of phrase, and it works exceedingly well. Over the years, I've brought it in, and it outpulls. And there's about 5 different openers.
Wow, wasn't that just awesome? Jim did an entire hour with us during the program, and I took 2 entire pages of notes on his tips. He blew away our members with his tips in that presentation. And of course, that's in the Inner Circle member archives. And finally, we had the honor a few months ago of having with us one of the nicest, most genuine humans you're ever going to meet. This guy's authored books that have sold in the multi-millions and has touched so many lives, and that's Bob Burg. In this brief snippet from Bob's awesome presentation, he shared a very cool tip on objections, and I do suggest you take notes on this one word for word.
A value situation. And so what happens is this: we often think we're answering the objection, but we're not. When we try to just overcome an objection with a standard, when someone says your price is too high, and we come back with a standard one-size-fits-all price answer, what we're doing is we may give a great answer, but it's to the wrong objection, because typically the objection they give you is simply a symptom of the of the actual cause. Okay, for example, let's take an example here. The person says, and let's say, for instance, you sell we're going to call this a MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is a generic term for a product or service. You sell a very expensive MacGuffin that does a great job producing widgets. And the prospect says, at the very end, he says, your MacGuffin seems pretty expensive. I think your price is too high. Now, the typical but ineffective and non-empathetic way to reflect that might be expensive? Not at all. I mean, really, when you consider what you're getting here, it's worth every penny and more. I mean, have you ever added up how much you're spending right now? In fact, we went through that, and as you can see, 6 months from now, it will absolutely pay for itself. Then it will be all profit to you and your company from that point on. Now, thud, right? I mean, you may have given the right answer or the right information, but what you didn't do is you didn't honor that person's feelings. You kind of communicated that it's about the sale, not about bringing value to him. You kind of attack. You made him wrong. You tried to overcome, not you, but the person tried to overcome that objection. So let's do it a little differently. Let's do it how you would do it and see how it might play. Your prospect says, your MacGuffin seems pretty expensive. I think your price is too high. You respond with, you're thinking X dollars seems like a lot of money to invest in a MacGuffin. And he says, well, yeah. Now, this is where you reflect with empathy, and you say, well, that's certainly something to consider. If I may ask, what kind of results would you need to see in order to justify that kind of price? Now, first, you didn't become defensive. There was no emotion other than kindness and helpfulness. So, he's assured this is simply part of the process. You reflected his concern back to him in a very non-judgmental, kind and understanding manner. So he now knows that you understand exactly what he said. You didn't argue with him. You didn't try to make him wrong. And before we go on to what he says, let me just say that when we say, if you remember, you said, well, that's certainly something to consider. You did not, that's not agreeing with him. It's not saying, well, okay, you're right, let's do something. No, not at all. You certainly let him know it's something that's certainly something to consider, which it is, because it's up to him. But what you're really doing is giving him the out or back door. You're saying, hey, this is about you, and I want to make sure you're happy with it, so this is something we need to discuss. So let's take it from this point. And you asked him what kind of results he'd need to see in order to justify this kind of price. And he says, well, I know with these MacGuffins, they're great, but they have a tendency to break down. And when that happens, if the service person doesn't show up quickly to repair it, I mean, a few hours is okay, but a day or two can cause us devastating financial losses. How do I know once the sale's made that they're going to be just as interested in me as you are right now? So hey, that's a good. Now, of course, had you been able to cover that during discovery, it may not be brought up right now. But even then, sometimes it is, because people are human beings. So what you can do now, you can assure him. So you listen to him. You found out it wasn't that the price is too high. It's that he's worried about a huge loss if something goes wrong and the service isn't there. So now you can very empathetically say, that's a terrific question. It's a great point. Let's take a look at this so that both of us, and you're saying, again, both of us can be absolutely sure that you're comfortable with our service guarantee and that it totally meets your needs. You need to be totally comfortable in this regard for this to work for you. Now, the one thing I'm going to suggest before you now prove to him with some great testimonials that you have about this very thing, so that and so forth. We don't really have time for that right now. In fact, we're just about out of time. But before you go through with actually now answering his questions, what I would also suggest is that you say, before we do that, though, let me just ask, is there anything else, any other issues that would cause you concern and keep you from feeling very comfortable going ahead and purchasing the MacGuffin? And the reason why is because you want to make sure that you have narrowed it down to that one objection, and at that point, now you're in the position to answer that. So that's just a quick summary of working effectively within an objection in order to get to what the objection really is, as opposed to dealing with something that is really only a manifestation, a symptom of the actual objection.
Wow, that was some great information from Bob on objections, and also from obviously all of our presenters. And one more thing about our guest presenters. I've got pretty high standards, and if you've been following me for any period of time, I'm pretty sure you know I am all about delivering solid how-to material, the meat without any fluff. Now, there are some big names out there that when you get right down to it, might be entertaining, but their material is either meh or it's stuff you wouldn't be comfortable using. So don't worry, they won't be a guest here. So I promise not to waste your time. So we've got an exciting lineup in the works, just like we have in the past. I'm not going to share the names quite yet because I don't have the final commitments, but rest assured, you're going to continue to get huge benefit, not only from myself in these live programs, but also our guests. All right. So did you like that? Did you feel you got some great ideas that you could use there in just a brief period of time? Did I deliver on my promise to you? Great. So thanks for registering for the webinar. So that tells me something about you. First, I know you're the type of person who is not satisfied with the status quo, is always interested in becoming better. So you want to be more confident and smooth and effective with your sales and your prospecting calls so you can make more sales and more money, right? So I've got another question for you. If you could ensure that your ability to do that and, of course, get the results that you want, and your interest in doing that doesn't end today after going through this webinar, would you be interested in that? Would you be interested in really being sure that you will raise your skill level to where it needs to be to make the money you want and do it consistently? Well, I'm going to remove the barriers to you getting the sales and the results that you want, because you have proven that you are the type of person who takes action and is interested in going to the next level. I invite you to join me and the other members in the Inner Circle Coaching and Training Group. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to join and get immediate access to thousands of dollars worth of sales training resources within minutes. That's right, today, for just $1. Okay, let me get to that here in a second. So first, let me explain what the Inner Circle is. I'm going to go through the components. I'll list these out of what you're going to get and what you're going to be a part of. So number one, you're going to get monthly coaching and training calls. So every month, I have a regular webinar with our members. So these are packed with solid sales building and motivational content. So you've actually just experienced that. What you just went through were the tips I took from several of my actual sessions, and then also, of course, from our guests. And really, if this was the only component of the program, a monthly training webinar would be worth it for you. Actually, you'd be so far ahead of what typical salespeople do every month. Now, personally, I still do some training webinars that we charge for, similar to the monthly training sessions you're going to be a part of. The most recent one we did, we charged $79 a person for. So if you just took that $79 and multiplied it by 12 a year, that would be a $948 value for the year. Take a look at what one of our members said. Ellis Nash said, the very first webinar I attended was worth the annual investment. You get plenty of information, free webinars, and access to the archives. Great service. Jim Rome said, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellent, then, is not an act, but a habit. So by going through these regular monthly trainings, you are creating habits. All right, let's go through the other components of the program. Number two, you're going to get my Smart Calling Report monthly sales tips newsletter. For over 30 years, I've written and published a monthly 8-page sales tips newsletter packed with brief tips, longer tips, case studies, contributions from other sales experts and pros in the field. And every month, all month long, I'm subscribing to and looking for the best of what is being published on sales and prospecting. And what I do is I sort through that, I distill it down for you in this monthly training publication. Now, this publication has helped salespeople worldwide sell tens of millions of dollars worth of products and services, and you're going to get it every month. We sell that newsletter for $149 per year, and you're getting it as part of the program. Next, you're going to not only get it every month, but you're going to have access to the archives. The information I put out with this publication every month is timeless. That's why what I wrote 15 years ago could help you get a sale or appointment today. So I'm going to give you access to back issues of that newsletter. Any one tip in any one of those back issues could provide you with that one idea or opening or voicemail or closing question that could help you get that big deal. And I'm not going to just give you some back issues. I'm going to give you all of them going back to 2009. Yeah, over 9 years worth. That's over $1,300 value. So you're going to have access to these as long as you're an Inner Circle member. I mean, this alone is like a graduate degree in sales. So what's that? You want more? Okay. This one, well, personal one-on-one access to me. And when I first started the Inner Circle, again, I debated as to whether I was going to offer this because it's such a huge time commitment for me. And then when I ran it by some of my speaking and training buddies, they told me I was insane to offer this program at the low price we are offering the Inner Circle for, with this included. Now, I don't take on individual coaching clients anymore. When I did, it was $300 per session. But for Inner Circle members, every month I hold a call-in coaching day. Now, on these days during the designated time, I open up the phone lines for members to call in and get 15 minutes with me to discuss whatever you'd like. I review call scripts. We discuss difficult scenarios, give advice on breaking into huge accounts, how to cook competition award-winning baby back ribs if you want, whatever you like. I mean, even if you just did 6 of these over the year at my previous coaching rates, that's a $400 value and could be over $800 if you did it every month. And I do have people that do it every month. Heck of a deal for them. I don't take appointments for the sessions. You simply call in on the specified day during the call-in hours. Next, got some audio training workshops for you. My previous Inner Circle program a few years ago, I did hour-long seminars with guest experts, kind of like what we do now. And we also recorded those and sold them on CD for $99 each, and we sold thousands of those. Well, I took the 5 best sellers, the most popular ones, and I'm including them in this version of the Inner Circle at no extra charge. And any one of these could put thousands of dollars in your pocket. And I've got a list of several there: how to prospect at the top management level, turn follow-up calls into sales, 12 best questions to ask prospects and customers, how to sell value, get full price, and overcome price resistance and objections, getting and keeping a successful sales attitude. So you're going to get instant access to all 5 of these, any one of which could help you close that next big deal. All right, we're not done yet. So as you listen to the guest presenters, I mentioned you can get instant access to their full presentations, and not just them, but other sales rock stars we have in the archives, like Jeb Blunt, Mark Hunter, Deb Calvert, Julie Hansen, and more. Plus, you'll have the full entire sessions of me presenting my best material. And you're going to get instant access to all of these webinars going back to July of 2016. This alone is an over $1,700 value. All right, now here's something we just added. You know, it's important to have community and interact with other like-minded, motivated sales pros. So you are going to get access to my private, exclusive, closed Smart Calling Facebook community. Now, I visit and participate every day. I add new training content on a regular basis. And to get in this, to qualify, others had to invest in our other resources at least the $149 level, up to many thousands of dollars for companies that had me in for training. Let's take a look at what Angie Buckner of Keller Labs said about the Inner Circle. I just joined your Inner Circle and find your training and tips very valuable. I just used one of your tips to get 3 replies from some very difficult prospects. And that's just one of our tips. So think about what is challenging you now, and I guarantee you'll find an answer here in the Inner Circle. So again, I invite you to be part of the Smart Calling Inner Circle monthly coaching and training. In a nutshell, you'll be part of a group of other like-minded, success-seeking, motivated sales pros from all industries who will have access to our monthly coaching and training calls, our webinars, the membership site, where the recordings of all these sessions are available for you as long as you're a member. So let's review what you're going to get here. All right, so let's review what you're going to get as an Inner Circle member. First, you're going to get the monthly training webinars. That's a $948 yearly value. You're going to get the Smart Calling Report monthly sales tips newsletter subscription, $149 yearly value. You get the archives for the past 9 years of the Smart Calling Report, $1,350 value. That personal one-on-one call-in coaching every month. You're also going to get the audio training workshops, a $495 value, the live training archive from all of the past monthly training webinars, over a $1,700 value. So for all of that, it's an over $5,400 value. But that's not what we're asking you to invest, of course. Since we want as many people as possible to get involved in the Inner Circle and have access to my training and not have money be a barrier, we've priced it at just $69 per month. However, that's not what you're going to invest today, because you demonstrated by being on this webinar that you are serious about your personal development. We're making a special offer, good right here, right now, just until next week. You'll invest just $39 per month in your monthly coaching and training. Now just think of how many things per month you spend more than that on, and things that are not investments, but they're expenses where the money is just gone for things that don't directly put money in your pocket, maybe stupid stuff. I mean, I can't even go out anywhere and spend less than $40 for drinks and appetizers. But it gets better than that. You won't be paying $39 today. I want to remove any hesitation at all that might be stopping someone from getting involved with me and the program. That's why you will become a full member right now for, are you sitting down? Just $1. Yep. It gives you access to everything for the entire month. There's no preview, no limited access. You could download every piece of content, get on the next training call, take part in the next call-in day, and then cancel if you wanted to. But my bet is that you're going to get so much value. You're going to continue with me for a long time at this special $39 rate, which you're going to lock in forever, by the way. In fact, most of our founding members who got in when we started in July of 2016 are still with us. They say that they can't afford not to be. And I personally guarantee your success. If for whatever reason you don't feel you're 100% satisfied in the first 3 months, I'll refund everything you paid. After that, you can cancel at any time and never be charged again. There's no long-term commitment here. So right now, what you need to do is get out that credit card. Pretty sure you can afford that $1 charge, right? So go to this link, smartcalling.training/special. That's right, Smart Calling, and it's .training/special. Okay, so you might be wondering, what's the catch? Well, the only catch here is that there is a deadline. You will need to get in by midnight Pacific time on Tuesday. Okay, after that, oh yeah, you'll still be able to get in, but when you go to the link, it's going to send you to a full price page. Okay, so what's that? Can I sweeten up the deal even more? Mike asks in the questions. Wow, you must be in sales, Mike. You're great at asking. All right, well, I'm going to give you more. For a number of years, I've published my weekly email training newsletter. Many of you probably receive it. People tell me it's one of the few emails they actually read because I always provide value and not just fluff or constant pitches. And I know there are companies that use just this every week to train their salespeople. And I know that these alone are valuable sales lessons because my readers tell me. So we've taken the past 350 or so issues, I call them training lessons, categorize them by topic, and we put them up in the Inner Circle members area. Now we sell this as a standalone training product for $297. But for you, just until the deadline, we're including access to this free as long as you're a member. Okay? So to review, again, you're getting everything that we had covered here so far. And then we're adding the Smart Calling Weekly Tip Library, a $297 value, bringing your total value to over $5,700. And again, your investment today is just $1. And then just the $39 monthly starting 30 days from now. Now you can leave this page and join after the deadline, but it's going to be $69 a month. Still a good deal, but why not lock in the $39? Oh, would you like an even better deal? How about the best deal? If you'd like to save even more, I've got a one-time offer for my very, very best value, and that's to pay for the entire year right now, or actually 30 days after your $1 today. Now, the regular price on this is $797, but your investment is a lot less than that, just $379 for the entire year. And yes, you'll lock in that $379 price for future years, forever. This is my best offer, so I suggest you grab that one. So again, you pay your $1 now and then the $379 in 30 days and not be billed again till your renewal next year. Oh, and finally, each membership is for one individual sales rep. So if you have a team you'd like to give access to, please contact me and I'll give you the volume pricing for 5 or more reps. Then I have even sweeter deals for the more reps that you have, hundreds, thousands, whatever the number. So there will be a special link for you at that page. Again, smartcalling.training/special. So don't hesitate. The clock is ticking. I want to help you really ensure that you get those sales and the income you want and deserve and the lifestyle that you want. So click the button right now to join me personally in my Inner Circle group. Now, just don't take my word for it. Look at what Inner Circle member Brandon Melanese says.
This is my 15th year in sales, and trying to navigate the sea of information online and finding really good, strong resources that are relevant is hard. I have found Inner Circle, and by far it's one of the best resources I have found. It's worth the money. In fact, we actually analyze an article every month with my sales team to way to kickstart the week. It is a great, great resource, great tool, and I've never found anything like it.
All right, so I do have some questions here. Pat wants to know, do I get access to everything right now? Yes, absolutely. Once you get into the program, what will happen is you will be sent an email with your password and then your login link, and you simply put in your email and password, and you will be taken to the members area. You'll have access to everything there, and it has the schedule for our next call-in day as well as our next live training webinar, and then, of course, access to the massive amount of information. All right, another question here. Okay, speaking of massive amount of information, Kelly wants to know, I'm afraid I'll have too much material here and won't be able to use it all. What do you recommend? Well, Kelly, I agree. You can't possibly use it all. You wouldn't have time to sell. But here's the great thing. You don't need to use it all. Sometimes people look at all this and they get a little bit overwhelmed, or maybe they go a month or so and they didn't log into the site. No big deal. Anybody here a gym member? I mean, I try to go to the gym at least 5 days a week. You normally accomplish that. But you know what? I don't use all of the equipment. It would be overwhelming, wouldn't it? Well, you couldn't do it. So here's a question for you to think about. At minimum, how much would you have to sell to just justify a measly $39 a month? And then, what if? What if it helps you to increase your income 10%, 20%, 30% or more? So again, you don't have to use everything here. You can just pick and choose. But the more you use, the more you're going to benefit. All right, here's a question about our call-in days. What if I can't get in on the call-in days? Well, I'll tell you what, Pete, that has not been a problem up to this point. During the busy times, people sometimes do have to try a couple times, but there have only been isolated cases since we've been running this where someone wasn't able to get in at all. And when they let me know that, I fixed it because I want to make sure everybody's satisfied here. So they contacted me and I let them call the next day or another day that was more convenient for them. Okay. And when and if we get to the point where it is an issue, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add another call-in day. So I don't plan on going anywhere, folks. I'm going to continue serving you all. So again, you're getting my best program here that gives the most access to me on a regular basis. And if you really want to take your sales to the next level, or even if you're just thinking about it, just pull the trigger right now. Just try it. That's the very best thing that you can do right at this point. So I'm going to wrap up here. Don't hesitate. You've already shown that you are the type of person who's interested in increasing your sales and prospecting results. So take that next step to ensure you make increased sales and profits part of your everyday habits. So go to that link right now, and I'll see you in the program, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, thanks for spending this time or investing this time with me. I'm Art Sobczak.